So now we've added all this functionality, it would be good to test this functionality is actually working. So what we'll do is we'll make sure our client application is started. And what we'll need to do is refresh our page first of all, but also make sure we're logged out and we do not have a token in local storage. There shouldn't be, because we're seeing the home page here. And I've got a warning here, of course, the Facebook get login status and HTTP. I can ignore that quite comfortably. So what we'll do, we'll log in as Bob at test.com with the passwords and make sure we can still log into our application, and rather disappointingly our activities have disappeared. So our first troubleshooting step is to go to the console, and what's it telling us? It cannot read property for each of undefined. Okay, and if we go to our network request and just refresh the page, and obviously our session has expired, well, at least we know that works. And let's go to bob at test.com passwords, and let's take a look. So we've got our network request, and this is coming back okay, and we're getting our two activities, but we need to think about what did we change. And what we changed is we exposed the www authenticate header, and that is overriding our pagination header, so we haven't also exposed that as well. And what we'll need to do is go to our with exposed headers and also add pagination. If we specify it here as a policy, then we also need to specify pagination. That does mean that we can remove it from our HTTP extensions, as we don't need to add this in two places, so we can also remove it from here if we're doing it from our policy level. So what we should find is that our activities load once again, once our application has restarted. Let's just give this a refresh. And now our activities are back. But what we wanted to do was check to see if our refresh token is being sent up. And if I click around, then I can view the application. But what we want to see is a request for our refresh token to go to our server. And that's what we're looking for. And the good news is our refresh token method did go, but we actually got an unauthorized. And what is this telling us? It's telling us our token expired, so we didn't actually make it to our server before the token expired, and that's why we've got this. So when we encountered the problem in the browser, it's because we were refreshing the page and our token wasn't updated with our get user request, and that's because inside here, whilst we're setting our user, what we're not doing is doing what we're doing when we get our user back from the other methods like our register, where we set the token in the common store. So we need that to be populated inside our local storage as well, and this method will take care of that. So once we've got the user, we'll just add this inside our get user method. Wasn't so relevant when we had a token that lasted for 7 days. Now it becomes more relevant because our token has such a short expiry. And if we scroll further down, we find we haven't actually made use of this stop refresh token timer as it's grayed out. So what we want to do is make sure we stop the refresh token timer before we do this. So we'll say let's stop refresh token timer. And let's go back and see if this has resolved our problem. And what I'll do is I'll just refresh this page, get a clean application. I'll just log in again as bob at test.com with the password. And we get our activities, and if I go and inspect and I open up the network tab, then what we should see is in 30 seconds or so, we want to see that refresh token going up. Because if it doesn't, our token will expire and then we'll get the unauthenticated. And this time we can see that our refresh token request has gone up at the right time. And we can click around our application. It should be seamless when a user is using our app. So they should be able to click around and do everything. And in the background, whilst they're doing whatever they're doing, then there's going to be that refresh token request. They'll get their token refreshed and everything's okay for them. What we also want to do is make sure that if they close the application down and then come back again in a few minutes time, or 10 minutes or an hour or a week or whatever, because their token is going to be stored in the local storage, we want to make sure that if they close the application, we still have the token, but they come back after the token has expired, they're not able to use that token or refresh it. So I'll just copy this into the clipboard. I'll close the application down to stop the refresh token from being used, and then I'll go back and try and access the application and make sure that we get sent back to the home page and asked to log back in again. So I'll just pause the video and come back in a minute or two. So that should be sufficient. So I'll just open up a new tab and paste in the URL, and what we've got is exactly what we're looking for. Session expired, please log in again. And this is our refresh tokens implemented. And now we've got the functionality working, what we'll take a look at next is redeploying our application to Heroku with this new functionality.